What's up, yo? Give my zoom in just a little smaller. Right there. Hey, y'all. I just hurt my finger. I'm about to cry. Okay. All right. Since John Solo, who shot first. Hey, you. Boobs. Pay attention. You gotta, I sent you the number to end the news, right? The dude that said he was gonna put his video, his text number in. I sent you his number because I got it yesterday. I screenshot it. Oh, you got a number yet? Okay. Bam. Alright. I screenshot it. I sent it to you. It should be right there. And you go in there and you text him and tell him, I want to do a video with him in the News Daily, and you ask him how much for a feature. Like 6 times, right? Tell Chief Keef we don't give a damn. We ain't shooting. We want to know how much a feature is. Alright, so yeah, because I want to do a video with the Negro. But that ain't what this video is about. Stop it! No. Wait. Until we get started, then you can have a cookie. This video is about Krampus. Now, everybody's done a video, and like John Solo, who shot first. Damn it! No, I just thought I had a drop or two I could use. You know you hate when you let us do that. You know what I hate when you give your neighbors things and they don't return your shit. But yeah, this is about Krampus. Now, to me, right? Well, let's run the footage and we can talk about it. Run the footage, we talk about it. Bam!
Hi, I'm Phil Albertelli, and welcome to this 2016 edition of the annual Week in Doubt Christmas special. In the past, I've only mentioned Krampus in passing, but seeing how it's the holiday season once again, and Krampus mania has seemingly reached critical mass, I figured that the time was finally right to dedicate an entire episode to this once obscure figure. In recent years, this creepy Yuletide character has been steadily clawing his way into popular culture. In 2012, he was the subject of a novel by artist and writer Gerald Brom, entitled Krampus, the Yule Lord. Back in 2004, a comical depiction of the character appeared in an episode of the animated series The Venture Brothers. And this year, he was depicted in 2 horror movies, one simply entitled Krampus, and the other being A Christmas Horror Story. So although it looks like he's well on his way to becoming a household name, many of you are probably still asking the question, just who or what is Krampus? The first thing one notices about Krampus is a shocking bestial appearance that makes him look like some holdover from the pagan past, more akin to a satyr or devil than a heartwarming holiday character. One theory is that Krampus may have originally been one of the sons of Hel, the goddess of the underworld in Norse mythology. His demonic visage is complete with a shaggy coat of fur, horns, cloven hoof, sometimes 1, sometimes 2, and a lolling red tongue. In Alpine tradition, Krampus is a companion of Saint Nicholas. In good cop, bad cop fashion, the two share a kind of division of labor. While Santa rewards good children, Krampus, armed with a scourge or switch of birch branches, or sometimes a whip, punishes naughty children. On his back he carries a sack or basket for carting away his child victims, possibly for drowning, transport to hell, or even for eating. Krampus is also often depicted as carrying chains, which as some suggest may symbolize the binding of the devil by Christianity. The character's exact origins are still a matter of speculation. Anthropologist John J. Honigman wrote the following in 1975. The St. Nicholas festival we are describing incorporates cultural elements widely distributed in Europe, in some cases going back to pre-Christian times. Nicholas himself became popular in Germany around the 11th century. The feast dedicated to this patron of children is only one winter occasion in which children are the objects of special attention, others being Martinmas, the Feast of the Holy Innocents, and New Year's Day. Masked devils acting boisterously and making nuisances of themselves are known in Germany since at least the 16th century, while animal masked devils combining dreadful comic, lustig antics appeared in medieval church plays. A large literature, much of it by European folklorists, bears on these subjects. Austrians in the community we studied are quite aware of quote-unquote heathen elements being blended with Christian elements in the St. Nicholas customs and in other traditional winter ceremonies. They believe Krampus derives from a pagan supernatural who was assimilated to the Christian devil. The assimilation or Christianization of existing pagan customs was a common practice stretching back into early Christian antiquity. In the case of Krampus, it appears he had been paired with St. Nicholas and made a part of Christian winter celebrations somewhere around the 17th century, if not earlier. In parts of the European world, the Feast of St. Nicholas is observed on December 6th. The night before is Krampusnacht, or Krampus night. Either accompanying Nicholas or on his own, the figure visits homes and businesses. Nicholas rewards good children with gifts, while Krampus dispenses coal and bundled sticks. In the Austrian region of Styria, the bundled sticks, or Ruten bundles, are presented to families where they are displayed year-round to remind children to behave, lest they should face the punishment of Krampus. Another Krampus tradition is the Krampuslauf, a Krampus run, or run of the Krampuses. Young men fueled by alcohol, often a brandy concoction, take to the streets dressed as the bestial figure. While Krampus parades and festivals have long been a part of Austrian and Bavarian winter celebrations, recently they have been gaining increasing popularity in parts of the Czech Republic. In some cases, participants also...
Where is this prevalent at?
This goddamn bug.
No, because we didn't. My growing up, I didn't know about Krampus.
No, in the hood. No. And as Austria, that's why you're supposed to listen in the beginning.
Okay, because I was saying,
you're supposed to pay attention. You can't just be commentating all kinds of stuff. Pay attention still.
Okay, so they do this to scare the shit out the kids.
Yeah,
okay.
Dude, well...
as being sometimes female in appearance, known as Perkton, frightful minions of Perkta, another pagan holdover based on an ancient Upper Germanic alpine goddess known as Pert. Pert started out as a benevolent pagan goddess, but over time became depicted as a nightmarish witch-like being who slices open the abdomens of her victims, replacing their organs with sticks, pebbles, and other debris before sewing them back up. Now, you might think that alcohol-fueled young men in demonic costumes might be a recipe for disaster, but I was only able to find one article about any kind of violence breaking out at a Krampus run. According to the Huffington Post, festivities in Austria recently got out of hand when one overzealous costume participant injured 5 teens with his scourge of bundled sticks. The publication also reports that Austrian authorities had to warn Syrian and Iraqi refugees ahead of time so they wouldn't be frightened when revelers dressed as the devilish Krampus, as dictated by tradition, came knocking on their doors. Another long-standing tradition is the exchanging of Krampuskarten, a practice which goes back to the 1800s. The cards usually depict Krampus in his traditional role as the punisher of naughty children, but some are more adult-themed and depict the bestial figure pursuing women. So from the pagan past to modern-day greeting cards, from European folklore and tradition to recent American cinema, it seems Krampus mania is here to stay. I hope you enjoyed this special holiday episode of The Week in Doubt. Thanks for listening, and Gross vom Krampus.
So that's why we took him a ticket. Come on out the back. Hey yo, we still here. Keep paying attention. She's not. Where's the
This is you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows the thieves and bad good so he good for goodness.
Have you been good this year, or have you been bad? Because if you haven't been good this year, don't expect a visit from Santa Claus. Krampus is coming to get you. In folklore, Krampus is a horned creature described as half goat, half demon, who, during the Christmas season, punishes children who have misbehaved. In contrast with St. Nicholas, who rewards the well-behaved with gifts. Krampus is one of the companions of St. Nicholas in several countries, including Austria, Bavaria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Hungary, Slovenia, South Tyrol, and parts of northern Italy. Although Krampus appears in many variations, most share some common physical characteristics. He is hairy, usually brown or black, and has the cloven hooves and horns of a goat. His long, pointed tongue lolls out, and he has fangs. Krampus carries chains thought to symbolize the binding of the devil by the Christian Church. He thrashes the chains for dramatic effect. The chains are sometimes accompanied with bells of various sizes. Of more pagan origins are the rutan, bundles of birch branches, or sometimes a whip that Krampus carries, and with which he uses in torment. Sometimes Krampus appears with a sack or a basket strapped to his back to transport to hell, or a bag for naughty children to be taken away. Its origin is unclear, but may originate back in pre-Christian Alpine traditions. Krampus may have a connection with the initiation rites of a witch coven. The chains could also be a remnant of pagan initiation rites or a Christian attempt to bind the devil. St. Nicholas became popular in Germany around the 11th century. The feast dedicated to this patron of children is one in which children are the objects of special attention. Masked devils acting boisterously and making nuisances of themselves are known in Germany since at least the 16th century, while animal masked devils combining dreadful comic antics appeared in medieval church plays. Pagan elements blended with Christian elements in the St. Nicholas customs and in other traditional winter ceremonies. Krampus may derive from a pagan supernatural who was assimilated to the Christian devil. Krampus continued in popular culture, and by the 17th century Krampus had been incorporated into Christian winter celebrations with St. Nicholas. Countries of the former Habsburg Empire have largely borrowed the tradition of Krampus accompanying St. Nicholas on the 5th of December from Austria. In the early 20th century, Krampus was viewed negatively in both politics and culture, but towards the end of the century, a popular resurgence of Krampus celebrations occurred and continues today. The Krampus tradition is being revived in Bavaria as well, along with a local artistic tradition of hand-carven wooden masks. The feast of St. Nicholas is celebrated in parts of Europe on the 6th of December. On the preceding evening of the 5th of December, Krampus night or Krampusnacht, the wicked, hairy devil appears on the streets, sometimes accompanying St. Nicholas and sometimes on his own, visiting homes. In traditional parades known as Krampuslauf or Krampus Run, young men dressed as Krampus participate. Such events occur annually in most Alpine towns. The saint usually appears in the Eastern Rite vestments of a bishop, and he carries a golden ceremonial staff. Unlike North American versions of Santa Claus, in these celebrations St. Nicholas concerns himself only with good children, while Krampus is responsible for the bad. Nicholas dispenses gifts, while Krampus supplies coal and branches. Nowadays, if we want to send a Christmas card, we probably think about something traditional like this, with a Christmas tree or an angel. However, Europeans have been exchanging greeting cards featuring Krampus since the 1800s, called Krampuskarten. Sometimes introduced with Gross von Krampus, greetings from Krampus, the cards usually have humorous rhymes and poems. Krampus is often featured looming menacingly over children. Over time, the representation of Krampus in the cards has changed. Older versions have a more frightening Krampus, while modern versions have a cuter creature.
Hello and welcome to all Top 5s and a Merry Christmas, of course. At this jolly old time of year, there is a somewhat darker figure that plays an important part in many cultures. His name is Krampus, and he has been both celebrated and feared in folklore for centuries. Number 5. Portrayal. Perhaps the allure of the Krampus figure lies in his appearance. During the light and colourful Christmas period, it's striking to have something that is quite the opposite. Krampus is an imposing, horned creature consisting of half goat and half demon, usually with one human foot and one cloven goat's hoof. He's dark brown or black most of the time, and he has a long, pointed tongue issuing from between his fangs. From there, different cultures have varying depictions of him. He is thought to carry chains, which he thrashes about wildly, and some believe that these represent the devil's binding, though these chains will often have bells on them too. Sometimes Krampus carries around bundles of branches from the birch tree, even a whip in some portrayals, and he uses these to swat and whip children. Even creepier is the version of Krampus who has a basket on his back, which he uses to steal away children to a nefarious end. It's quite interesting to see his depictions soften over the decades. Older paintings of Krampus show him to be a scary, horrifying, sinister figure, rather inappropriate for children, it's been debated recently. But a lot of more recent interpretations are of a humorous and sometimes even cute Krampus, often paired with amusing rhymes or poems. So, a menacing figure on the whole, and one with somewhat fuzzy origins. Number 4. Origins. The origin of Krampus is a much debated topic. Whereas the origins of Santa are quite clear, Krampus is something of an enigma. Some historians believe him to precede even Christianity, coming from an ancient Alpine traditional folklore. In fact, his name stems from the Old High German word for claw, which is Krampen. Although the role this initial pre-Krampus figure played isn't clear, it's believed to have originated from old folk tales of elves and kobolds. Indeed, some historians believe that there's a connection between Krampus and the horned god of witches, another Satan-like figure, including birch branches that he carries and the chains that he's bound by. Some claim he may be more Christian in origin. In medieval church plays in Germany, violent animal-masked devils would often make appearances, and this ties into the theory that Krampus was a pagan demon figure who provided a basis for the more modern Christian devil. He was paired with St. Nicholas, with records going back to the 17th century, and this has been celebrated ever since. Number 3. St. Nicholas. So, what do I mean that Krampus was paired with St. Nicholas? Well, St. Nicholas was a well-documented Christian saint from the 4th century, and he was well known for his secret giving of gifts, a practice that inspired the legend of the modern-day Santa Claus. Traditionally, the St. Nicholas, Sinterklaas, Santa, whatever you want to call him, figure visits children over the winter period and brings gifts to those who have been good throughout the year. Krampus, on the other hand, visits homes of bad children and does not give them gifts or treat them well at all, in fact. This striking contrast between the two figures is probably what caused people over time to put them together, as they seem to fit so well by being such opposing characters. The partnership is often literal, with the Feast of St. Nicholas seen by some to feature both Krampus and St. Nicholas together on the street, ready to carry out their deeds. St. Nicholas will give the gifts to the good, but Krampus gives coal to the bad and punishes them too. A great duality. Everything good has a bad opposite, I suppose. Number 2. Behaviour. On the eve of the Feast of St. Nicholas, the 6th of December, Krampus and St. Nicholas take to visiting children's houses for reward or punishment. Although Krampus supplies coal in many cultures, he often does far worse for the bad children. The birch branches he carries around with him aren't just symbolic, they're used to beat naughty children, a form of corporal punishment dreaded by children throughout history. It gets worse though. In some depictions of Krampus he has that basket, or sometimes a sack, on his back. It's said that he uses it to carry off children from their homes, then proceeds to drown them, eat them, or even take them straight to hell. Carting children off in his sack stems back to the 16th century, when North Africans would raid European settlements on the coast and carry people off into slavery. There are some interpretations that suggest Krampus takes to the streets not with St. Nicholas, but with other wild monstrosities like himself, called Schaapmänner, but these are in more rural communities. In more built-up communities, he's often made more child-friendly, becoming more of an amusing character, sometimes even cute and cherub-like. There are even adult interpretations where Krampus is portrayed chasing women. it seems there's a different way that everyone celebrates Krampus. Number 1. Celebration. There is a marked change in how the figure of Krampus is celebrated over time, but its name, Krampusnacht, which means Krampus Night, has remained constant to today across the world. Traditionally, people in Europe on Krampusnacht, or St. Nicholas's Eve, would have a respected villager dressed up as the saint in heavenly robes, and behind him would follow the mischievous and terrifying Krampus, played by a young man from the village, a great honour. He would indeed put children into his basket sometimes and throw them into nearby streams, all in the name of fun, of course. People would offer schnapps, which is a fruit brandy traditional in Alpine Europe, to Krampus, as he ran through the town or village, sometimes with the trails of other pagan spirit figures. Since the 1800s, people in Europe have given each other greetings cards that feature the Krampus, ranging from the scary to the humorous. These would often feature poems or rhymes, as I mentioned earlier, and they usually involved the children he was responsible for punishing. These cards were known as Krampuskarten, and the modern ones are still produced. Krampus is still celebrated to this day in Austrian towns and villages, as you might expect, but there has been a resurgence in interest in North America. Krampusnacht celebrations have recently been getting...
Come with me. We're going on an adventure.
There's no limit to what we can be.
You better watch out. You better not cry. Better not pout. We're telling you why. Krampus is coming to town. Welcome to Top 10 Archive. When it comes to Krampus, a lump of coal for your yearly misdeeds is the least of your worries. For this very merry archive, we've got the lowdown on Krampus, Christmas's very own demonic entity. Number 10, the Christmas Devil. Plenty of things have a good and evil element to it, so why should Christmas be any different? Though you may think Ebenezer Scrooge to be the malevolent holiday entity we're speaking of, the grumpy old gent has nothing on Krampus. It's half goat, half demonic, and all business. Krampus is best known as the Christmas Devil, a grotesquely demonic figure with horns and hooved feet that doesn't bring good tidings to you and your kin. Krampus is derived from the German Krampen, meaning claw, and is believed to be the son of Hel in Norse mythology. Number 9, the Dollfuss Prohibition. After the 1934 Austrian Civil War, Krampus received some attention by the authoritarian Dollfuss regime. Though Krampus is generally agreed to be Germanic in origin, the Austrian Dollfuss regime, under the Fatherland Front, prohibited any traditions that revolved around the Christmas Devil. Krampus was banned under the regime and did not see a resurfacing until after the end of World War II. There is no recorded reason as to why Krampus was prohibited, but once the ban was lifted, Krampus returned in full force, though the traditions surrounding it would see some changes. Number 8, Krampus is Santa's antithesis. Though Santa Claus is known to scold bad behavior by dishing out lumps of coal, Krampus takes a more active role in straightening up children. Early legends of the Christmas Devil state that he traveled with a sack or wash tub strapped to his back. The otherwise harmless items were actually used to take away children deemed evil for one of several punishments. The worst children snatched by Krampus would be taken to hell for their indiscretions, while bad children were swatted with a bundle of birch sticks. Number 7, the Long Tongue. Many depictions and retellings of Krampus have one thing in common: the demon's long, slithery tongue, almost like a snake. In some drawings, Krampus's tongue is seen reaching out towards children. There's no real reason for the tongue, save to further enhance the creature's terrifying look towards children. But the muscular organ has been attributed with a 12-inch length and can be used to lick children prior to doling out their punishment. Number 6. Krampus was labeled a socialist. Leave it to the reporters to turn a holiday tradition into something political. On December 23, 1934, right after the prohibition on Krampus began in Austria, the New York Times ran an article titled, "Krampus disliked in fascist Austria. Guino Black and Red Devil, symbol of Christmas fun, is frowned upon." Despite the inaccuracies in calling the genuinely evil Krampus Christmas fun, the article went on to claim Krampus was a socialist, which is why the Dolphus were quick to prohibit any traditions surrounding the beast. Number 5. Krampus also has a sexual side. Krampus may best be known for his vendetta against evil children, but there's another side to the horned demon that dates back to a time of orgiastic rituals of music, wine, and sex. When the Christmas devil isn't busy thwacking bad children and stealing away evil ones, some propaganda shows him fraternizing with half-dressed women. Horned deities are often associated with sinful acts, so it's no surprise that Krampus, also a beast of the horned variety, would be stereotyped into being a hypersexual creature. Number 4. The fate of children. Depending on who you speak to, or how angry the parent telling the tale of Krampus is, the fate of naughty children can vary. While it's known that Krampus targets evil and bad children, how he handles these miscreants can change from one telling to the next. Some believe that Krampus uses the wash tub strapped to its back to drown evil children, while others don't even factor in a wash tub, rather outfitting the demon with a sack used to abduct children to bring to hell. It's also said that Krampus may eat the children he abducts. Number 3. Krampusnacht. December 25th is most popularly known as Christmas Day, but if you look 20 days earlier on the calendar, you land on another important day in Christmas tradition. December 5th is Krampusnacht, a night in parts of Germany and Bavaria dedicated to the celebration of Krampus. During Krampusnacht, men dress up in elaborate costumes representing the Christmas devil and take part in a parade of creatures that terrify both children and adults alike. In some traditions, it was on this night that Krampus, not St. Nicholas, dispersed coal and rotten bundles to naughty children. Number 2. Krampus in modern societies. If you were to ask an American child who Krampus was in the mid-90s, chances are you'd get a strange look and no discernible answer. Today, though, you can pretty much mention the name Krampus anywhere and get a positive response. Though modern Austria struggles with determining whether Krampus is appropriate for children or not, American pop culture is idolizing the demon with movies and merchandise. The irony in commercializing the Christmas demon is that there are some that believe that Krampus was, at one time, a symbol of the commercialization of Christmas and loss of its original meaning. Number 1. It predates Jesus. In 1958, Folklore Volume 69, Issue 1, featured a piece by Maurice Bruce on the origin of Krampus, and in it, Bruce wrote, "There seems to be little doubt as to his true identity, for in no other form is the full regalia of the horned god of the witches so well preserved." The horned god in question is an ancient deity that predates Christianity and Christ, leading many to believe that Krampus is actually older than Jesus Christ and more modern representations of Christmas tradition. Do you know of any other interesting tidbits about Krampus? Do you have an idea for a future Top 10 video? Let us know in the comments section below.
So yeah, can y'all believe that? He older than Jesus? He might have been sitting up there with Father God. But man, if I was over in them countries, I wouldn't do a goddamn. I wouldn't even breathe. I'd die of suffocation. But anyway, Merry Krampus. Bye. Fire, fire, fire.